Does Connor Bedard have another big night in store against the Calgary Flames?
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's cracking, Blackhawks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your number one sports podcasting network. We're proud to bring you your team every day. Per usual, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. On today's episode, I'll start with everything to note for the Blackhawks matchup tonight against the Calgary Flames. And then for segments 2 and 3, it's time for part 1 of Deep Dive 4.0, where I'll go through the stats and analytics for every Blackhawks forward, as we're now through the midway point of the 25-26 season. But first, just a quick reminder, if you enjoy everything that I'm doing here on Locked On Blackhawks, please make sure to go and show some support to ChicagoHockeyNow.com, where I'm in my first year as a Blackhawks beat writer. Would greatly appreciate all the support that I can get, Blackhawks fans. All right. Happy Thursday, everyone. Starting to creep towards the weekend, starting to get closer to that NFC divisional matchup between the Los Angeles Rams and our Chicago Bears at Soldier Field Sunday afternoon, which I'm very grateful for, by the way, considering the Blackhawks play on Saturday this weekend at home against the Boston Bruins, which, by the way, is going to be a real good one. Not only is it another Original Six matchup, but the Blackhawks will also be celebrating Chapter 3 of their centennial season, which is the banner years, and it's Duncan Keith bobblehead night at the UC, and it's not just that. Duncan Keith will be in attendance, as will several Blackhawks Stanley Cup champions, for a Q&A with Darren Pang at the UC Atrium at 5:45 p.m. Central Time. The Atrium doors open up at 4:30 p.m. CT, so if you happen to have a ticket, or if you don't already, make sure to go and check out Game Time to get the cheapest and easiest Blackhawks ticket that you can, because I feel like that's one that a lot of Blackhawks fans are going to want to be in attendance for. But very grateful that the Bears and Blackhawks are not playing on the same day, so I can relax at home. Probably won't be relaxing very much considering the stress levels that the Bears always put us through this year. But yeah, very glad that the two teams are not playing on the same day. I might be the only one out there who's real happy that the Bears are playing on Sunday, which I know some people who have to work the following day aren't too pleased about. Regardless, Blackhawks, after having 2 days off here in a row, return to action tonight at the United Center, continuing their current 4-game homestand for the third and final game of the season series against the Calgary Flames. And the first two have gone very well for the Blackhawks so far this year, and have gone very well for Connor Bedard as well, who, by the way, will be back in the Blackhawks lineup after, sadly, he was forced to miss Monday's game against the Edmonton Oilers. We were robbed of a McDavid versus Bedard matchup at the UC. And of course, he had just returned from his separated shoulder on Friday, a couple of games prior, after missing the previous 12 contests. So certainly unfortunate that Bedard was the latest victim of the flu/stomach bug that's been running wild around the Blackhawks locker room. But great to see that Bedard was on the ice as a full participant at Blackhawks practice yesterday. And during the morning skate, he was a full participant once again, skating along with Ryan Green and Andre Burakovsky. We'll get into the Blackhawks projected lineup here in just a second, but first, definitely have to bring up how Bedard has just absolutely torched the Flames throughout his young NHL career. Going back to the first meeting between these two teams this season on November 7th at Scotiabank Saddledome in Calgary, that was a nice 4-0 win for the Blackhawks during their road trip at that time in early November. And Bedard was at the helm of that 4-0 victory, registering a point on all 4 goals, 1 goal and 3 assists on the night for number 98. Tyler Bertuzzi also had 2 goals in that one. It was a multi-point effort from Andre Burakovsky as well, with a goal and an assist. And then, of course, Spencer Knight stopped all 33 shots faced that the Flames threw his direction to record his first shutout as a member of the Blackhawks as well. And then just 11 days later, in the second meeting between these two teams, this time at the United Center on November 18th, was another nice 5-2 win for the Blackhawks. And I'm sure lots of you remember that's when Connor Bedard picked up his second career NHL hat trick, recording 3 of the 5 goals for the Blackhawks in that game. Oliver Moore also had a multi-point outing with a goal and an assist. Ryan Donato was responsible for the other Blackhawks goal in that game, while Arvid Soderblom stopped 19 of 21 shots faced in order to pick up the win. But in just 2 games against the Flames so far this season, Bedard has at least 3 points in both of them and has totaled 7 points, 4 goals, and 3 assists in total in his 6 career games played against Calgary. He's now got 6 goals and 6 assists for 12 points, along with 28 shots on goal. So for whatever reason, there are a couple of teams, the Anaheim Ducks. I feel like the Ottawa Senators is always a team that Bedard fares well against. Calgary is absolutely one of those squads. So I'm thinking it could be another big night here for number 98 at the UC after, missing Monday's game. He's missed a lot of games for the Blackhawks over the last month and a half. Might have a little bit of an extra chip on his shoulder, and I'm sure he knows what he's done against the Flames in his career. So quite honestly, Blackhawks fans, I don't ever really talk about gambling too much here on the show. Obviously, FanDuel is one of our great partners here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am definitely going to be betting on FanDuel tonight. First off, the Blackhawks are only minus 115 on the money line, which, yeah, I know the Blackhawks and the Flames are not all that far apart in the standings, but considering the success that both Bedard and the Blackhawks have had against the Flames, they're 4-1-0 as well in their last 5 games against Calgary at the United Center. I'm definitely going to be taking the Hawks money line along with Bedard to score a goal and probably his shots on goal as well, because as I mentioned, along with those 12 points that he has in 6 career games against them, he also has 28 shots on net. So averaging well over 4 shots on goal per game when going up against the Flames. That's definitely one that's going to be in my slip here this evening. As far as a quick rundown on the Calgary Flames, they're 19-23-4 now through 46 games, giving them 42 points. They're the 3rd worst team in the entire NHL. The Winnipeg Jets and the Vancouver Canucks are the only 2 teams below them. And they're coming off of a 5-3 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets to start a quick little road trip for them in their last time out on Tuesday. And altogether in 2026, not a very good beginning to the new year, as the Flames are just 1-5-0 in their first 6 games of 2026. So a team that's really struggled for a majority of the season, been at the bottom of the standings really for the entire year. I feel like this is a really great opportunity for the Blackhawks, especially as spoiler alert here a little bit, they're starting to get healthier and finally starting to shed that bug that's been spreading like wildfire through the locker room recently. So considering the history against the Flames, considering Bedard's success against the Flames, considering that the Blackhawks are starting to feel a little bit better as a group, I feel like this is a real great opportunity for them to bounce back here tonight on home ice after dropping the opening game of their 4-game homestand. Feel like it's a really good opportunity to kind of get back on track and move their record to 6-2-0 here in 2026. As far as the Blackhawks lineup for tonight against the Flames, before going through the line combinations and defensive pairings, I do want to mention first that Teuvo Teravainen will not be suiting up for the Blackhawks tonight. He exited Monday's game late in the first period against the Oilers with an upper body injury. I kind of scoured social media and was looking for a clip to see exactly what happened to Teravainen, but quite honestly, I couldn't find one. If anyone knows, what happened, what may have caused the injury, please go and let me know down below in the comment section. But Teravainen was not on the ice for practice yesterday or today's morning skate. And after practice yesterday, head coach Jeff Blashill, while he's still gathering information in terms of how long Teravainen is going to be out, he just called him day-to-day right now. He did know enough to know that Teravainen isn't going to be playing here tonight against Calgary, but did say there's a chance that he's still able to return to the lineup on Saturday for that awesome Original Six matchup against the Boston Bruins. So no Teuvo Teravainen here tonight for the Blackhawks. Connor Bedard will be back. As I mentioned, he returned to the top line along with Ryan Green and Andre Burakovsky during the morning skate and during yesterday's practice. Do want to point out again, though, that, of course, Bedard is not taking faceoffs for the Blackhawks right now. It will be Ryan Green. Even though Bedard is technically slotted as the center, Ryan Green will be the one taking the draws for that trio. Second line for the Blackhawks, once again, looks to be Tyler Bertuzzi, Jason Dickinson, and Ilya Mikheyev, which I still feel like is a little bit of a wonky trio, but I understand why Blashill is going with that line right now, because there's not really a clear second line center for the Blackhawks. However, I do wonder at some point if Bertuzzi, Dickinson, and Mikheyev aren't able to generate enough offensively, will Bertuzzi get a look along with the two rookies, Oliver Moore and Nick Lardis, who have been skating with Teuvo Teravainen for the majority of the last couple of weeks, and it will be Ryan Donato who's jumping up into that spot with them, with Teravainen out tonight. And then quite honestly, Blackhawks fans, I like the addition of Ryan Donato to that line. Well, he definitely doesn't play with the same pace and definitely doesn't provide the same playmaking that Teuvo Teravainen does. What he does really well that Teuvo doesn't is bring a shoot-first mentality to the table. And I think along with two rookies like Oliver Moore and Nick Lardis, two guys who have some good speed and can play with some good pace and creativity in the offensive zone, I think it's smart to put a shoot-first type of guy like Ryan Donato on the other wing, on the opposite side, of Nicky Lardis. I feel like that's has the potential to be a very effective trio, and I'm really interested to see how Ryan Donato is going to look on that line along with the two rookies, Moore and Lardis. And then on the fourth line, that leaves Colton Dach, Nick Foligno, and Landon Slaggert. Sam Lafferty appears to be the only healthy scratch, and he was actually absent from practice yesterday as well, as he had a little bit of a stomach illness, but seems like he's feeling better here as he was participating in the morning skate, but is not expected to be part of the Blackhawks lineup. Hoping, though, that Lafferty is the last member of the Blackhawks to get sick. Poor Drew Commesso, who, of course, was excellent on Saturday to help the Blackhawks beat the Nashville Predators 3-0. He got returned to Rockford on Sunday and unfortunately missed his next start because he had fallen ill as well. So it's just been going crazy here in the last 5 to 6 days. But hopefully with Sam Lafferty feeling better, and it seemed like everyone was on the ice for the morning skate, hopefully that will be the end of the illness that the Blackhawks are dealing with. Defensively, no real changes, only 6 defensemen on the active roster right now, of course, so that leaves Alex Vlasic, Louis Crevier as the top pairing, Wyatt Kaiser, and Artie Levshinov, who had a 5-minute and 22-second shift on Monday against the Edmonton Oilers, 29 seconds away from tying Jack Hughes for the longest shift in NHL history. He was out there for absolutely forever. He'll be skating with Wyatt Kaiser here tonight, and then Matt Grzelcyk and Connor Murphy round things out on the blue line. In net for the Blackhawks, Spencer Knight will be making his 32nd start of the season. I already mentioned in his lone start of the year against the Calgary Flames, it was Arvid Soderblom who started in that second meeting against the UC. But going back to that first matchup on November 7th in Calgary, Knight pitched a shutout, stopping all 33 shots faced, and he's now 13-12-6 with a 2.63 goals against, 910 save percentage, and 2 shutouts on the year. Was very sharp in his last time out against the Oilers to give the Blackhawks at least an opportunity to claw their way back into that game late in the third period. Had it not been for Knight, definitely could have been a blowout victory for Edmonton at the UC. All right, that is going to take care of everything to note for tonight's matchup, the third and final meeting of the season against the Calgary Flames. Quite honestly, wish we could face these guys more. If you're going to be sticking with me for the rest of the show, Blackhawks fans, then it's time to get into part 1 of Deep Dive 4.0 coming up here in just a moment. But first, I do got to give a shout out to one of today's sponsors, which is FanDuel. Fridays always feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. And NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app just before the action starts. It's Fridays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's become appointment viewing for NBA Happy Hour. The timing is perfect. It's right before the games and right before the weekend start. So before tip-off, go and check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. As always, before I get into segment 2, just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying what you're watching here today on YouTube, smash that like button for me. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Turn on that bell so you get notified when the episode gets uploaded to YouTube each and every day. And if you're someone who regularly listens through an audio platform, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it may be, please make sure to go and rate and review the show if you could. It's all 100% free, will not cost you anything. Helps me out in a major way in growing my platform. And also, be on the lookout for my recap of tonight's matchup with the Calgary Flames that'll be dropping early tomorrow morning. Segment 2. It's time to get into the fun stuff, Blackhawks fans. One of the favorite segments that I do personally on the show when we go through every 10 to 15 game stretch of the season, going through a deep dive, breaking down the stats and analytics for every Blackhawks player on the roster. And now that we're over the midway point of the 25-26 season, the Blackhawks have now played in 46 games. It's time for Deep Dive 4.0. Only going to be part one here today, though, Blackhawks fans, because I had to break down tonight's matchup against the Calgary Flames. Don't have enough time to go through both the forwards and the defensemen and talk about every single statistic and analytics. So breaking this up into two parts, I'll be going through the defensemen on tomorrow's episode as well, where, of course, I will be recapping what goes down tonight between the Blackhawks and the Calgary Flames at the United Center. But before I get into the stats and analytics for every Blackhawks forward on the roster, just for a little bit of reference, because I know some of these numbers may be a little bit confusing to stick with or to kind of digest and understand truly what they mean compared to one another, I wanted to go through the Blackhawks team statistics in terms of their Corsi for percentage, expected goals for percentage, goal for percentage, scoring chance percentage, high danger chance percentage. So when I go through each individual player, you have some sort of reference in terms of whether they're above the average Blackhawks skater or below the average Blackhawks skater through these opening 46 contests. So the Blackhawks as a team, most of their analytics, as they've kind of been all season long, not all that great as a squad. You want to be above the 50% marker on all of these stats if you can, and the Blackhawks aren't above 50% in a single one of them. Their best metric, though, is the Corsi for percentage, which for anyone who doesn't know what Corsi for is, it's shot attempts for versus shot attempts against. Obviously, if you're over 50%, that means you're getting more shot attempts than your opponent is. The Blackhawks have a 47.44 Corsi for percentage, so their opponent is still on average out shooting them, but it's not by a huge discrepancy. But if you go and look at the Blackhawks, team numbers as a whole, if you're looking at the stats and analytics, natural stat trick on a nightly basis, then regularly the Blackhawks are on the wrong side of this line. So if you've been watching the Blackhawks this year, these numbers shouldn't be all that surprising. They have a 45.88 shots percentage. Corsi for is shot attempts. This is just simply shots on goal. And we know the Blackhawks, I think they're second or third to last in the NHL in average shots on goal per game. So this number isn't all that surprising. They have a 44.56 goals for percentage at even strength. So have been outscored at 5-on-5 play so far this year. They have a 45.10 expected goals for percentage as a team. So the number is a little bit higher than their actual goals for percentage, which, it's not that big of a discrepancy between these two numbers, but says that the Blackhawks should have fared maybe a little bit better than their actual goals for percentage tells them, but it's really not all that much of a difference there. And then in terms of scoring chances as a team, the Blackhawks have generated 45.9% of the total scoring chances in their game so far this year. And their worst metric, high danger opportunities, which I don't think is all that surprising, especially considering Connor Bedard has missed 13 of the last 15 games now. Has to be one of the worst metrics in the league because the Blackhawks just don't create a ton of high danger chances, especially when Bedard is out, as they're at 42.44% of the high danger chances generated in their game so far this season. So to lay out those baselines or those metrics as a team for the Blackhawks this season is something I wanted to do before diving into each and every one of these individuals. Kicking things off, though, only makes sense to go with number 98, Connor Bedard, who admittedly, because he hasn't played a lot recently, these numbers aren't all that different from Deep Dive 3.0 the last time that I went through this, but still want to talk through Bedard's numbers so far this year. He's played in 33 of the 46 games for the Blackhawks. He's got 19 goals, which is second on the team behind only Tyler Bertuzzi. Still leads them with 27 assists and also is first on the squad with 46 points. Also has a team best +9 plus-minus rating, which, yes, I know plus-minus is not the end-all be-all. It is not the most accurate stat to judge someone by, but compared to where Bedard was at in that category his first 2 years, super impressive stuff. And I think that's a result of both his offense taking another step and also him growing and becoming more responsible on the defensive side of things. 14 of Bedard's 19 goals this season have come from the even strength variety. That's good for second on the Blackhawks. His 5 power play goals, also good for second on the Blackhawks. 17.3 shooting percentage for Connor Bedard. That's a number that I love to see, especially considering he was around 12% in his first 2 NHL seasons. And every time I talked about his shooting percentage, I specifically said This is a number that is going to rise with the special release that he has. That's been evident so far in his third NHL campaign. Also leads the Blackhawks with 110 shots on goal still, despite having missed 13 games this year. And he's averaged 20 minutes and 56 seconds of time on ice. A massive role for the Blackhawks, second most on the team, trailing only Alex Vlasic. And another impressive metric, of course, is Bedard's face-off win percentage. He's at 47.0%. Not taking faceoffs right now, so that number is probably going to stay the same for a little bit, but after being well below 40% in his first two seasons, super impressive growth shown at the dot. And now, getting into Bedard's analytics. He has a 44.7 Corsi for percentage, so a little bit lower than team average. However, he does have the best goals for percentage of any Blackhawks skater at 53.45%. He's been on the ice for 31 goals for to 27 goals against, and is one of the few Blackhawks skaters who's on the right side of that 50% number, meaning he's been on the ice for more goals for than goals against. And that's definitely a result of his offense taking a huge uptick in terms of the playmaking, the speed, the amount of chances that he's able to generate. He just looks like he's elevated every aspect of his game in his 20-year-old campaign. In terms of expected goals for percentage, not as high as his actual goals for percentage is. 43.89 expected goals for percentage out of Bedard, which is actually a little bit lower than some other players. And me trying to break this down, Blackhawks fans, I feel like that's just kind of a symptom of Bedard playing over a third of every single game for the Blackhawks. And as a team, they're getting outscored at even strength. They're getting outchanced at even strength, out high danger chanced. Because I feel like Bedard has been the most dangerous Blackhawks forward undoubtedly so far this year. And this is still a fine expected goals for metric compared to the rest of the team. But quite honestly, I just expected it to be a little higher. And I also probably expected his scoring chance for percentage and high danger chance for percentage to be a little bit higher as well. 44.65 scoring chance for percentage. He's been on the ice for 246 scoring chances for to 305 against. And then high danger chance percentage, 39.91, which is not very sharp. And this one confused me a little bit. And while, yes, Bedard has made strides defensively, there are definitely still things he needs to work on to be an even better and more well-rounded player. But quite honestly, I feel like he's been on the ice for more high danger chances than that. This one left me scratching my head a little bit, Blackhawks fans. But the 44.65 scoring chance ratio, I think that's a little bit more normal and, of course, right around the team average. And I do wonder if just him playing so much and with the Blackhawks stats being not so lopsided in the other direction, but of course, all their numbers being under 50%. I wonder if that's a little bit of a symptom of this. And also do wonder if, this is also a result of Bedard. While Andre Burakovsky has been good, while Ryan Green's been impressive of a rookie, I do also feel like this could be a symptom of him not having the most dangerous, true top-line players alongside him so far here this season. So that's going to take care of Connor Bedard's stats and analytics there. Next up, let's get to Tyler Bertuzzi, who's played in 43 of the Blackhawks' 46 games, leads the team in goals, obviously, with 24, is chipped in with 13 assists for 37 points, good for second on the Blackhawks, minus 10 plus-minus rating. Bert, not really known for his defensive prowess, so not too surprised by that number, considering the Blackhawks have been outscored at even strength this year. Does lead the team with 15 even strength goals, and I've been really impressed with how he's gotten the job done at 5-on-5. More so when Connor Bedard has been out. A lot of his goal scoring earlier on in the season was coming from the power play. Now he leads all Blackhawks players in even strength goals. Also leads the team with 9 power play goals as well. So love that he's getting it done both at even strength and on the man advantage in that net front role. Do want to point out, though, the playmaking is just not there from Tyler Bertuzzi. Only has 6 even strength assists in 43 games played this season, but that's not really all that surprising considering he is one of the slowest forwards in the entire league and also has never been known as like a sweet disher out there or anything. Just someone who regularly goes to the front of the net and scores those greasy goals. That's his role, and he does it very well. But do still want to point out that he's a little bit of a limited player because of that lack of speed and playmaking. Shooting 23.3% on the season is Tyler Bertuzzi, which, that's not a lot of his shots come from the perimeter or come from the outside. So obviously from in tight, where a lot of his goals come from, he's going to have a high shooting percentage converting on those. You have a better chance of converting those than you do from far out, obviously. Second on the Blackhawks with 103 shots on goal, which I do still think is really impressive. And I think goes to show how scrappy Tyler Bertuzzi is in front of the net, because despite not shooting a lot from the perimeter, yes, he has played in the Blackhawks top 6 all year, so he's getting a lot of opportunities, but for him to still be second on the team in shots on goal for a guy who a majority of those shots come from right out from point blank, I think that goes to show you just how good of a job he does at getting chances on cage from the doorstep. Also was chipped in for 33 hits. Would like Bertuzzi to be a little bit more of a physical player, but quite honestly, I do feel like that's a part of his game that if he makes the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Blackhawks, that would come a little bit more to life. And then getting into Tyler Bertuzzi's analytics, he has some of the best analytics of any Blackhawks skater. 49.11 Corsi for percentage, which, as I mentioned, the Blackhawks 47.44 as a team. Bertuzzi has been, he's a player who receives a lot of offensive zone starts, so that definitely helps that he's not starting a lot in the defensive zone, but I thought that was still a very impressive Corsi for percentage right there near the 50% Mendoza line. Also has a 46.15 goals for percentage on the season. He's been on the ice for 30 goals for to 35 goals against, so has been very impactful at even strength, even though he's not someone who does a lot of the creating and the playmaking. And then he also has a 48.6 expected goals for percentage. One of the best on the Blackhawks as well. Is same with his scoring chance for percentage. 50.66 scoring chance for percentage, meaning when Bertuzzi's on the ice at even strength, the Blackhawks are getting more scoring chances than their opponent is. And I do think part of that, again, is that Bertuzzi gets a lot of starts in the offensive zone, but I mean, 60-70% of the hockey game is played on the fly, right? So even if you start him there, that doesn't mean that he's going to be only playing in the offensive zone during his shifts. I think that's super impressive, and I think goes to show you Bertuzzi's impact away from the puck as well, because when guys are dumping it in, I feel like he's probably the best Blackhawks skater at going, even though he doesn't have a lot of speed. When he does get in on the forecheck and when he's able to make contact with a player who's carrying the puck, does a really good job, I think, of either forcing a turnover or keeping the play alive for the Blackhawks in the O zone, which leads to shots on goal and scoring chances. So 50.66 scoring chance for percentage out of Tyler Bertuzzi this year is one of the best metrics on the entire Blackhawks roster. And then he's also been on the ice for 45.77% of the high danger chances this season. And again, this is one that leaves me a little bit confused because Bertuzzi, and I do think their roles play a part in these numbers, but I would never guess that Bertuzzi has been on the ice for 6% more high danger chances than Connor Bedard has so far this year. And that's why analytics, aren't always the end all be all, but I think they do help you just get a little bit more detail on each and every player. This one left me scratching my head a little bit, considering Bedard is obviously the one who can create the most high danger chances for the Blackhawks. I feel like he's undoubtedly had the best and the biggest amount of high danger scoring chances of any Blackhawk player this season. But the percentages kind of tell us otherwise. Next up, let's get to Andre Burakovsky, third on the Blackhawks in scoring. He's played in 41 games this year. He has 10 goals, which is tied for third on the team. 19 assists. His playmaking has been really great, especially with Connor Bedard out. Tied for second on the team with 19 apples, 29 points, as I mentioned, good for third on the roster. Just like Bertuzzi, well, Bertuzzi was -10. Burakovsky has a -11 plus-minus rating. Only taken 12 penalty minutes, which part of me gives credit to Andre Burakovsky for staying out of the sin bin. Part of me also realizes that he's not a very aggressive defensive player, and despite having some decent size and speed, doesn't really use it to get involved along the boards or force turnovers all that frequently, in my opinion, at least. So I feel like there's another level of scrappiness that Andre Burakovsky could still get to for a player of his size. 7 even strength goals for Burakovsky out of his 10 tallies, 3 power play goals. I would like him to be a little bit more effective of a shooter on the man advantage. I mean, quite honestly, I thought that's what we brought him in to do, was to be a good goal scorer along with Connor Bedard. And while I give him a lot of credit for the playmaking this year, there's still another level for him to get to as a goal scorer, which has really been his best offensive attribute so far in his career. So a little surprise it's been the playmaking that's been more on the forefront this year for Burakovsky with the Blackhawks. And he's shooting 16.7%. He has a solid shooting percentage, but he only has 60 shots on goal. And for a guy who's averaging right around 18 minutes per game, playing up inside the top 6, on the top line a lot with Connor Bedard, I just think he's got to be a little bit more aggressive with the puck on his stick and fire it on cage, because the Blackhawks need some help in the goal scoring department from him. And then getting into Burakovsky's analytics, he's got some really sound analytics for the Blackhawks so far this year as well. 48.78 Corsi for percentage. That's good for fourth best on the team. Also has a 46.03 goals for percent. He's been on the ice for 29 goals for to just 34 against. So been involved nicely offensively. And while I just talked about not being the most aggressive player with his skating and size defensively, still is someone who does a decent job at forcing turnovers and doesn't have clear breakdowns. Like, he's a fine defensive player, which has definitely helped him be on the ice for only 34 goals against at even strength. Has a 47.72 expected goals for percentage, which is one of the best numbers on the Blackhawks, right up there with Tyler Bertuzzi. So he's been super effective at even strength. Has a 47.74 scoring chance for percentage. He's been on the ice for 296 scoring chances for to 324 against. Some of the closest metrics there of any Blackhawks forward, and then has been on the ice for 41.57% of high danger chances as he's been out there for 111 for to 156 against. So some pretty sound numbers here from Andre Burakovsky, and altogether it's been a very effective and a little bit of a rejuvenation of his career after a couple of real down years in Seattle. He's found his footing so far here in Chicago. Would just like to be him more involved as a goal scorer. Next forward to get to Teuvo Teravainen, who leaves me wanting to rip my hair out constantly. He's played in 45 of the Blackhawks' 46 games. Will not play tonight against the Flames. Does have 9 goals, which is 5th on the team, and has chipped in for 12 assists for 21 points. Has a -12 plus-minus rating, not all that great. Only 4 penalty minutes, kind of similar to Burakovsky. He's a good defensive player and plays on the penalty kill. He's just more passive than he is aggressive. My biggest knock on Teravainen, though, is he only has 5 even strength goals and 5 even strength assists. 10 even strength points in 45 games this year out of Teuvo Teravainen. Someone who was regularly playing up inside the top 6 early on the season, even if it wasn't coming with Bedard. And like, the Blackhawks need him for his offensive contributions, and he's not really given us any of that at 5-on-5. And he doesn't shoot the puck. He's only got 54 shots on goal in 45 games this year, regularly passes up prime scoring opportunities. And like Andre Burakovsky, he's also shooting 16.7%, but for whatever reason is just so reluctant to pull that trigger. And it pains me, Blackhawks fans. And if you've been listening or watching the show for the last couple of years, and you know I didn't like the Teuvo Teravainen signing, and quite honestly, I would not be opposed to the Blackhawks trying to move him this summer because he's just not a fit on this roster. It's almost kind of like, and I don't mean this rudely, but when he's got a 39.07 expected goals for percentage on the season, 36.04 high danger chance percentage, he doesn't shoot the puck. He has 5 assists at even strength as a playmaker. That's what he's known for. It's almost like, what do you do here, Teuvo Teravainen, besides eat up some cap space that the Blackhawks need to get to the salary cap floor? My goodness, hate to go on a rampage on the guy, but I've just kind of had it up to here with him, to be quite honest. 47.12 Corsi for percentage is a pretty good metric. However, he really lacks getting the finished product. 36.84 36.84 goals for percentage from Teuvo Teravainen at even strength this year. He's been on the ice for just 14 goals for at even strength in 45 games to 24 against. And 24 goals against, considering his role, is pretty sound defensively. But his lack of offense is absolutely unacceptable. And that 36.84 goals for percentage, dead last among all Blackhawks forwards so far this year. Just not good enough out of Teuvo Teravainen, man. And I just don't think, I definitely think there are prospects who can come in and do the exact same thing that he does, a la in Oliver Moore. Like, I do not think we need Teuvo Teravainen past this season. Next up, we get to Ryan Donato, who's played in all 46 of the Blackhawks games this year. And kind of in the opposite way of how I feel about Teuvo Teravainen, I love the way that Ryan Donato plays hockey. 10 goals, which is tied for 3rd on the team, has chipped in for 8 assists, has 18 points, right behind Teuvo Teravainen, despite being strictly on the 3rd and 4th line, except for opening night, I believe, this season. Does have a -13 plus-minus rating, but again, is more so in a defensive-minded role for the Blackhawks down in the bottom 6. And he's got 9 even-strength goals on the year compared to Teuvo Teravainen's 5. He's also got 7 even-strength assists compared to Teuvo Teravainen's 5, despite getting way less of an opportunity than he does. And in comparison to Teravainen, who's got 54 shots on goal, Ryan Donato has 78, while averaging right around 14 to 15 minutes of time on ice per game. That 78 shots on goal, those 78 shots on goal are good for third among all Blackhawks skaters this year. And I also love how he's someone who can play both center and the wing. He's played mostly wing so far this season, but when he has stepped in to play the center ice spot, he's won 51.0% of his faceoffs. Really sharp number there. He's also chipped in with 56 hits, which is good for fourth most among all Blackhawks skaters. So while it hasn't been the same, 30 goal campaign offensive season that Ryan Donato had last year, that was to be expected with his role getting minimalized, and he's still finding ways to impact the game, maybe in not the most noticeable or flashy ways, but in a lot of different avenues. And I love that about Ryan Donato. And I also love that shoot first mentality that he's going to bring to the third line with Oliver Moore and Nicky Lardis here tonight. And then getting into the analytics, a lot of good stuff out of Ryan Donato as well. 47.5 Corsi for percentage among the Blackhawks leaders in their forward group. Has been on the ice for 20 goals for to 30 against. But again, considering a lot of that has come on the checking line along with Dickinson and Mikheyev, it's really not all that bad of a discrepancy there. Still has a 45.66 expected goals for percentage, which I think is very impressive despite the role that he plays. 42.77 scoring chance for percentage, not all that surprising because of his role. 216 chances for to 289 chances against. However, does have a better than team average high danger chance for percentage, which again, to do that when he is starting so many of his shifts in the defensive zone and is also frequently going up against the other team's top offensive line. He's a 43.3 high danger chance for percentage on the season and has been on the ice for 97 for to 127 against. And I really think 127 against, considering the role that he plays, is a very sound defensive number. So altogether, I've loved what we've gotten out of Ryan Donato so far this year. Next up, we get to the rookie Ryan Green, who, like Donato, has played in all 46 games for the Blackhawks, has 5 goals and 12 assists for 17 points. Also, sneakily has a +2 plus-minus rating, which I think is pretty darn impressive for a rookie. Also, has only 10 penalty minutes for someone who does some good things defensively. Still room for him to grow in that spot, but as a rookie, as a center iceman, for him to only have taken 10 penalty minutes, 5 minor penalties, I think is pretty impressive as well. 4 even strength goals for Ryan Green. 4 of his 5 have come from even strength. 9 of his 12 assists have come at even strength as well. The one real knock I think we can give Ryan Green right now is he just doesn't finish a lot of his chances. He's only shooting 8.1%. And if he was shooting 12 or 13%, he'd probably be close to double-digit goals as a rookie so far this year. And he's gotten a lot of chances, 62 shots on net, a lot of those looks coming in dangerous areas from Connor Bedard or Andre Burakovsky. Just hasn't been able to get the finished product as a young player in this league. What's also impressed me about Ryan Green, though, is he's won 46.0% of his draws and has been one of the biggest faceoff takers for the Blackhawks as a rookie this season. And then the analytics. Really good for Ryan Green as well. 45.7 Corsi for percentage. That's decent. How about a 51.72 goals for percentage, though? He and Connor Bedard, the only 2 Blackhawks on the team who have been on the ice for more goals for, 2 goals against at even strength. Green has been out there for 30 goals for to 28 against, hence his +2 plus-minus rating. And then in terms of expected goals for, 44.71%, which is a fine number in my opinion. 45.2 scoring chance for percentage, which is pretty decent compared to the rest of the forwards. 277 for to 335 against. 41.9 high danger chance percentage, though, right on par with what Connor Bedard had, a little bit higher than him, and right on par with the rest of the team. Been on the ice for 111 scoring chances for, high danger chances for to 151 against. And compared to Connor Bedard, he's been out on the ice for 137 high danger chances against in his 33 games played. Obviously, gets a lot more ice time than Ryan Green does, but Green also regularly plays with Connor Bedard. And in those 13 games without Bedsy, to only have, 17 more high danger chances against than he does, I think goes to show you that Ryan Green as a rookie has been a pretty gosh darn good two-way player for the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, going to take a quick break, Blackhawks fans. I know we're running a little long. That's just what happens here on these deep dives. But when I return, I'll get into the stats and analytics for the rest of the Blackhawks forwards in the first half. Real quick, though, I need to talk to you all about another sponsor on today's show, which is Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades that you can make. And that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. spelled QUO, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. And it works right from your phone or from your computer. You can even keep your existing cell phone number. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 and trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. So go and make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Go and try Quo for free. Plus, you'll get 20% off on your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNHL. Again, that's QUO.com/LockedOnNHL to get 20% off on your first 6 months. Quo, no missed calls and no missed customers. Just want to say thank you all for making Locked On Blackhawks your very first listen here to start off your day. Before I wrap things up, still got a couple of forwards to go through here real quick, mostly the bottom 6 type of guys. Starting off with Ilya Mikheyev, who's played in 41 of the Blackhawks' opening 46 games, has 8 goals and 6 assists for 14 points. Been all right offensively, but that's not exactly what we expect Ilya Mikheyev to be bringing to the table. Has a -4+ rating, though, for a guy who regularly plays so often in defensive situations, along with Jason Dickinson, a lot with Ryan Donato, starting in the defensive zone. -4+ rating, I think, is pretty solid. And what I love about Mikheyev, too, he only has 12 penalty minutes, and he is someone that when you watch him, you know he's hounding down opposing puck carriers. He's getting physical, playing with an active stick, and to only have 6 minor penalties with the way that he plays, which is opposite to Teuvo Teravainen, who's not very aggressive with his stick, not getting involved in the board battles too often. That's where I'm impressed by Ilya Mikheyev's discipline, with only 6 minor penalties in that role. Also, all 8 of his goals have come from the even strength variety this year. Would like to see him maybe use those wheels to contribute a little bit more shorthanded, but I honestly expect that's something the Blackhawks are going to get better at in the second half of the season as they're starting to get more comfortable with Jeff Blashill's PK system. 68 shots on goal for Ilya Mikheyev this year, still more than Teuvo Teravainen, despite playing in fewer games and playing in more of a defensive role. And he's shooting 11.8%, which is pretty solid. You'll take anything over double digits for a player like Mikheyev. 44.10 Corsi for percentage, I think, is fine for the type of role that he plays. 40.5 goals for percentage. He's been on the ice for 15 goals for. Not very involved offensively so far this year after scoring 20 goals with the Blackhawks last year. Not all that surprising, though. He was probably going to have some resurgence in that category. Has only been on the ice, though, for 22 goals against at even strength in 41 games played. I think that's a very solid number. 42.8 expected goals for percentage. So the analytics suggest that he could have even had some more goals scored on the offensive side of things. 41.5 scoring chance for percentage. 193 for to 272 against. 41.0 high danger chance for percentage. 91, almost similar numbers to Ryan Green. 91 scoring, similar numbers to Connor Bedard, quite honestly. 91 high danger chances for has Mikheyev been on the ice for, to 137 against. Not all that surprising. Again, I know I've said not all that surprising a ton on today's show, but when he's playing with limited playmakers like Jason Dickinson and Ryan Donato, you can't expect that line to be creating a ton offensively and going up against a lot of the best offensive players for the opposing team. You expect the ledger to probably be on the other side, right? Next, we get to Oliver Moore, who's played in 34 of the Blackhawks' 46 games this season. I predicted that he was going to play in 50 games as an NHLer. Looks well on his way to achieving that. He's tallied 5 goals and 9 assists for 14 points so far this season, -11+ rating. Definitely some room still to grow for Oliver Moore on the defensive side of things, even though he uses his speed very effectively and he gives you that effort. I just think in terms of structure and understanding how the NHL game is going to be played, that's something that he experience is going to help, and he just kind of needs to rack up more games. Really do believe he's going to be a very sound defensive player, though. 6 penalty minutes for Oliver Moore. Similar to Ilya Mikheyev, right? Like, uses his speed, uses his wheels to be involved, but I still think there's another level of assertiveness that he can get to as well. Of his 5 goals on the season, 3 have come from the even strength variety, kind of struggling to get the finished product at 5-on-5. Has a couple of power play goals for the Blackhawks in the last week, both of them really nice shots from Oliver Moore. Need to see that shot a bit more often at even strength if possible. 6 of his 9 assists, by the way, have come from even strength. So he's actually been pretty solid on the Blackhawks man advantage here during his rookie season. Shooting 11.9%, 42 shots on goal. again, we just haven't seen the same caliber of wrister from Oliver Moore regularly at even strength that we have on the man advantage. So that's something that he is going to have to figure out here as he continues to rack up more games. Really impressed, though, that since the Blackhawks have played him at center, he's won 51.0% of his faceoffs. Really good number as a rookie. And then how about these analytics for Oliver Moore? Some of the best of any Blackhawks skater. 49.6 Corsi for percentage. That's second among all Blackhawks skaters. 37.8 goals for percentage. So hasn't been getting the finished product very much. He's been on the ice for 14 goals for to 23 against at even strength, but he has a 48.0 expected goals for percentage. So again, the underlying metrics suggest that Oliver Moore should be generating more, and his line is generating a decent amount of chances at even strength. They're just not getting the finished product a ton. And that's reflected in the scoring chance for percentage as well. 51.43 scoring chance for percentage from Oliver Moore this year. When he's on the ice, the Blackhawks have outchanced their opponent 180 to 170 at even strength. So a lot of opportunities that Oliver Moore's speed is generating for he and his line mates. They just got to get the finished product a little bit more frequently. And then he's been on the ice for 45.7%, percent of the high danger chances, 64 scoring high danger chances for to only 76 against. Another one of the best HDCF metrics on the entire Blackhawks roster. Really impressive stuff there out of Oliver Moore. Next, we get to Jason Dickinson, who's actually played in one fewer NHL game this season than Oliver Moore has. He's been banged up several different times. Has chipped in for 5 goals and 4 assists for 9 points. Not a ton of offense out of Dickinson so far this year. -7 plus-minus rating, I think, is actually pretty solid, again, considering his role. 4 even-strength goals out of Dickey. 1 shorthanded goal. One of the 3 shorthanded goals, I believe, that the Blackhawks have so far this year. 41 shots on goal for Dickinson. He's not given the Blackhawks a ton offensively any longer, which, not a shocker. That 20-goal campaign he had a couple of years ago is definitely going to be an outlier for him. Is still shooting 12.2%, though, only 41 shots on goal. So would like to see Dickinson get some more shots directed on cage there. Has won 49.0% of his faceoffs. Would like to see him above the 50% line, but right there, can't really knock him too harshly for that one. This is what I thought was interesting. Jason Dickinson, among all Blackhawks skaters, has the best Corsi for percentage, 51.6. The Blackhawks are regularly out shooting, getting more shot attempts than their opponent is when Jason Dickinson's on the ice at even strength, which, again, for being the third line center, guy who goes up against the opposing team's best offensive line, I did not expect that to be the case. That number really caught me by surprise, and it made me think, was I too harsh on Jason Dickinson when I dished out my midseason grades about a week ago? He's got a 41.8 goals for percentage, 18 goals for to only 25 against at even strength. Obviously, the offense, that's not what he's known for. To only be on the ice for 25 goals against in his 33 games played, I guess it's not really the same as Ilya Mikheyev, who's been on the ice for 22 goals for in 41 games. 25, actually, in 33 isn't as great. I forgot Dickinson's only played in 33 games, but still going through the rest of his numbers. 49.82 expected goals for percentage. That's a shocking number considering his role. 48.9 scoring chance for percentage. He's been on the ice for 155 scoring chances for to 162 against. Considering his role, that's jaw-dropping to me, and has one of the best high danger chance for percentage numbers on the Blackhawks, 47.02%. He's been on the ice for 71 high danger chances for to 80 against. Maybe I haven't given Jason Dickinson enough credit for his lofty defensive work this season, because we know he hasn't been doing a ton offensively, but with that being the case, and for his numbers to be so close, I think goes to show you the value that he provides defensively that even gets swept under the rug by me every now and again. Did not expect Jason Dickinson to have that sound of analytics. Next up, we got 2 more to get through here. Colton Dach. He's played in 45 of the Blackhawks, 46 games. The only one that he missed was on Saturday against Nashville. Has 3 goals and 5 assists for 8 points. Doesn't really give the Blackhawks all that much offense, but that's not what he's here to do. -15 plus-minus rating is the worst among all Blackhawks forwards, though. 45 penalty minutes, which I think a good amount of those have come from dropping the gloves or stepping in for teammates. And, he's taken a couple of 5-minute misconducts in there. So it's not like he's killing the Blackhawks with these penalties or anything. And the Blackhawks really do need his physicality and aggressiveness. 2 of his 3 goals have come from the even strength variety. Scored his first career power play goal just about a month ago now. 4 of his 5 assists have come from even strength as well. Only shooting 6.4% though, which I know Colton Dach, I knew he was never going to be a gifted goal scorer in this league, but I did feel like when he was coming through the Blackhawks prospect rankings, I mentioned that of his offensive makeup, I did think he was going to be a better goal scorer than a playmaker. So does have a good shot as well, a sneaky good shot. So a little disappointed that he's only shooting 6.4%. Has 47 shots on goal, though, which is decent for the role that he plays. 37.1 face-off win percentage. They've thrown Dach in the faceoff dot a couple of times this year just because of some of the injuries. Hasn't gone very well for him, which isn't all that surprising. He is not a center iceman. Where he has undoubtedly shined the most, though, is with his physicality. 158 hits, leads all Blackhawks skaters, leads all NHL rookies, is in the top 5 in the entire league. And the Blackhawks really need that because outside of Dach, they just don't even have very many guys in the prospect pool, aside from maybe AJ Spellacy, who can bring that same kind of mantra to the table. As far as the analytics go for Colton Dach, 46.5 Corsi for percentage is actually better than I thought it would be. The rest of his numbers, though, not very good. 29.0 goals for percentage, has been on the ice for 9 goals for at even strength to 22 against. 39.18 expected goals for percentage, which is one of the lower metrics on the team. The scoring chance for percentage is better than I thought, though. 43.2 scoring chance for percentage, has been on the ice for 154 for to 202 against. But I think goes to show you that even when the fourth line does get a good scoring chance, they're just not known as finishers, obviously. So not getting that finished product as much as some other players could be. And then 37.09 high danger chance percentage, only 56.4 to 95 against. Not a lot of real threatening opportunities coming from that slow and grindy Blackhawks fourth line. And speaking of the slow and grindy Blackhawks fourth line, that takes us to captain Nick Foligno, last but certainly not least. He's played in 24 of the Blackhawks' 46 games, obviously missed a little bit over a month due to that hand injury. Did score his lone goal of the season in his return, has chipped in for 7 assists, giving him 8 points on the season. -1 plus-minus rating, though. I mean, compared to Colton Dach, who's -15, I think goes to show you the defensive responsibility that Nick Foligno can still provide. 18 penalty minutes for Foligno. For someone who does provide some physicality, I wouldn't even be upset, and can drop the gloves. I wouldn't be upset if that number was a little bit higher. Only 23 shots on goal in his 24 games played. Kind of similarly, on a similar rate there to Colton Dach, there's just not a lot of chances coming for that Blackhawks fourth line. Do give Nick Foligno credit, though, for stepping in and winning 50.6% of his faceoffs. He's been a good faceoff man for the Blackhawks, despite, regularly playing the wing throughout the most of his NHL career since joining on with the Blackhawks. They've asked him to play center a little bit more, and he's done a good job at the dot. Also has chipped in for 60 hits in 24 games played, which is third among all Blackhawks skaters, despite having missed nearly half of the season up to this point in time. And then last but certainly not least, getting into the analytics, 46.9 Corsi for percentage out of Nick Foligno is pretty gosh darn good, as is his 44.4 goals for percentage as a fourth liner. He's been on the ice for only 8 goals for in 24 games played. So again, not a lot of offense going on when he's out there, but he is reliable defensively. He's only been on the ice for 10 goals against at even strength in his 24 games played. I think that's a pretty solid number. And then has a 43.2 expected goals for percentage, which is fine for a fourth liner, a lot better than Colton Dach's is. 44.2 scoring chance for percentage. Has been on the ice for 96 for to only 121 against. Again, for a fourth liner on a Blackhawks team who's on the wrong side of all of these analytics, I think you will take that. And then last, he has a 44.4 high danger chance for percentage. Been on the ice for 44 to only 50 against. So we're not getting a lot of offense from Nick Foligno at this stage of his career, but at the very least, he's winning a good amount of his faceoffs, which I give him credit for as a winger. And he's doing his thing, being responsible defensively and limiting the amount of chances that he's giving up. Done a really good job at that. All right, Blackhawks fans, that is going to take care of Deep Dive Part 1 of Deep Dive 4.0 in today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. As always, thank you all again for joining me on the show. Make sure that you're subscribed to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free as well, wherever you may be listening to your podcast. That way, you don't miss any of the latest episodes as soon as they become available. I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can follow me on X at Jack Bushman 2. My Strictly Blackhawks account is at Talkin' Hockey. Go and give that one a follow so you don't miss any of the latest Blackhawks news and updates. Until tomorrow's episode, everyone, go Hawks. Let's go and beat down on the Calgary Flames once again. Let's get another point effort out of number 98 Connor Bedard to help get this home game, this 4-game homestand swimming effectively. Until tomorrow's episode, everyone, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.